You're listening to the TuneTribe podcast.
That was the TuneTribe jingle as voiced by possibly a voice that you're going to hear a little bit later, but more of that after I've introduced our first guest. Welcome to the TuneTribe podcast, TV critic and marvellously witty and amusing Hannah Verdier.
Hello.
This is your second visit, Hannah, isn't it?
It is. I came back for the fun.
You couldn't keep away, could you?
Couldn't.
I dragged you back from south of the river.
You.
It's really good to have you back. We've also got the debut appearance from TuneTribe's own head of content, Lucy. Now, Lucy, how do I pronounce your surname? Because I've never said your surname.
Harvie Austin.
Harvie Austin.
As it's written, really.
As it's written, yeah. I think it's because I see it elided together in an email address. Lucy Harvie Austin, your first appearance, you are here really because you put together the whole of the TuneTribe site, the editorial.
I did, yes.
Additionally, you are an enormous Adele fan.
I am, yes. Massively so.
And that's what we're here to talk about today, this morning, this evening, this afternoon, whenever it is you're listening to this. The Adele phenomenon. This album has been out not quite a week, and it has sold a large number of copies. In the US, it has already... I suspect it's surpassed 2 million now, but certainly as of the first 2 days, it had sold 1.9 million.
3 days, it was 2.3 million.
Goodness me. And we are heading towards the record, it being the fastest selling debut album in US album sales history. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds great until we read what was the record that she is currently going to break. What can you think of what the fastest selling album in US sales history was prior to Adele?
I would like to think
You'd like
something
to think it was
like Thriller.
You'd like to think it was something amazing, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Lucy, any idea?
I know it's not, though, because I read this.
Not the Eagles, no, nothing.
Garth Brooks?
No.
It's something
Is it
quite...
Shania?
No.
It's quite something quite recent, isn't
It's
it?
something rather prosaic. I have to say, it's NSYNC's
Oh.
No Strings Attached.
Oh, that is an album. I love that. I nearly said that, but I thought I would be being too hopeful. Oh, that
What a classic.
is...
And who could
it's
forget
a classic.
the opening track? That one. And also,
Bye, 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 you mean? Do you want to see the dance routine?
And now welcome to TuneTribe's NSYNC expert, Hannah Verdier.
Well,
Do you remember that album?
Oh, remember it? I went to see them in New Jersey performing it.
Oh my word.
Oh, don't even get me started.
So
on
not only a
NSYNC.
great album, but a good live act.
Absolutely amazing.
I mean, it's funny because NSYNC for me they rank alongside, Boyzone and
Wash
various
your mouth out.
various bands that have never even bothered investigating. I feel terribly guilty now.
NSYNC broke the concept of the boy band because Boyzone and Westlife could just sit on a stool, but NSYNC is like pure theatre. They
Like
brought
a
you
dance
Justin
moves.
Timberlake. It's so much talent. I know you're all looking at me as if to say, yeah, what's she going on about? But I recently went to see One Direction. They didn't have an ounce of the... Oh, everyone's laughing at me now. Yeah.
No, we're not. We're laughing with you.
The fabulousness of NSYNC.
Well, I mean, they must have been fairly fabulous because they sold 2,416,000 albums in 1 week.
Great
in
days.
the year 2000. So that's what Adele is up against.
Yeah.
So can I start with you? Lucy? Because you are the, let's say, the voice. I already suspect where this conversation is going to go between the three of us. But I'm going to ask you firstly to talk about what you make of this album, 25.
Well, obviously, it was never going to beat 21. And I have to say that, even as a massive Adele fan, it was never going to beat 21. 21 was such a generation-shifting album. It was so big, and it was huge, and she was dealing with a heartbreak, and this one, she's obviously not heartbroken. She's obviously in love and got a child and stuff. And it was never going to be 21. But I think I know people will disagree with me, and I actually have to say I don't completely love every single on
Right.
this album like I did with 21. However,
It's worth saying, isn't it, how many... I mean, 21, obviously 25 has got to beat NSYNC, but it's also got to beat 21, which is over 30 million sales and counting.
It may do that for the simple fact that it's Adele. And it's not, 21 became that big because it was a fantastic album. This one may become this big because it is Adele, as opposed to what's on the actual album.
Yeah. Do you agree with that, Hannah? Do you think that it's actually going to sell because of who it is rather than what it sounds like?
I didn't even know she had a new album out. It's not been much about on the telly, has there? No. I think 21 is a very good album. But this, I really, really wanted to love it because she's a brilliant singer. She's brilliant as a person. Her whole attitude to everything is amazing. But it sounded like one song to me. And I think if you're a fan, you want more of the same. That's absolutely fine. But it's not going to win her any new fans, I don't think. I was really expecting some great collaborations and maybe a little experimentation.
Well, it's full of collaborative affairs. I mean, it's almost got as many producers and songwriters as there are tracks. There's only a couple of songs which seem to double up on the kind of backstage talent, but.
Yeah, I mean, the bloke out of One Republic, Ryan Tedder. I mean, if you're going to collaborate, whoa, let's go right in the middle of the road. And yeah, I mean, and there was even, I think I read something
Let's
about...
get the bloke that did Bleed in Love.
Yeah, that's really going to change her image, isn't it?
But there was apparently a load of people that she turned down. They wrote songs like the guy from Blur, Damon. What's his?
Albarn. Damon?
Yes,
Really, I didn't know that.
He wrote several songs for her.
I mean,
and he was really annoyed before it all. There was a whole thing before it even got released. That
I would imagine his bank manager was fairly shirty about it as well.
He was furious, and he called her some names under the sun, and she's come back and said, "I regret working with him."
Oh, do you know I'd completely spaced on that. So that's a bit fascinating to hear. I mean, I would imagine if you're Adele and you're Jonathan Dickens, her manager, you could have anyone, really, couldn't you? You could have anyone within reason to write, unless they were dead. Possibly even if they were dead.
I reckon you could get them too.
Yeah, you could probably get them too. And yet she seems to. I mean, there was a group, fantastic. I just have to read it. Just one line from the Alexis Petridis from your mate, his review in the Guardian last week. Certainly no one who buys it is going to angrily return it to the shop because it wasn't what they expected.
That's exactly it. It's pure Adele all the way through, and you can't mistake the voice. And maybe it's...
But crucially not trying anything new.
But then, should it be... Is that what it's meant to be, though?
That tried and tested.
Yeah, I mean, it's squarely aimed at what I would say is my demographic, which is your... pretending to be 30-something woman, like I nearly gave it away then. And it's for the people who, right, this is going to sound awful, but it's for the people who don't really want to choose their music. They just want to stick with what they know. They want to put it on in the car, and they want to just hear her beautiful voice, and they want to see people do those songs on X Factor and not do them quite as well as Adele. So for that, it completely fits the bill. But I just think that why won't she just do an upbeat song? That's my thing. There's not even a Rolling in the Deep in there. There's nothing...
Well, there's a couple of up-tempo
Well, you
numbers,
say that, but
loosely.
then Send My Love to Your New Lover is quite, upbeat.
It's as upbeat as Adele
Is
gets.
it upbeat as Adele gets?
That's an interesting one, though, because she's... I did read somewhere in one of because she's so private and doesn't give interviews, one of the interviews she's given, she was like, oh, who does this Britney song? Get me him. So they bring the Swedes and they bring in Max Martin, and I think that's what they've come out with, which is it's a great quality song.
Are you talking about the second song on the album, the Send My Love to Your New Lover?
Which is about the ex. It's the one and only song on here that is about the ex.
And it's a bit of it's an FU, as she described it.
I've now got over you. I've moved on with my life. Don't treat anyone like the way you treated me.
Yeah, and which is all fine. And I love the fact that it starts off with the lovely guitar. And I'm a huge fan of Max Martin, and obviously, some of the stuff that he's done with Taylor Swift is great. But it doesn't quite, for me, the chorus is just not quite good enough. It's not quite doesn't hit that sweet spot for me. The track, the up-tempo track, is the final one. Is the Sweetest Devotion track, which Paul Epworth did, and that seems to have a tune and also be doing something slightly more exciting production-wise.
And it's got her son in it.
Which I didn't know. Yeah, tell us about that.
Oh, she's just at the beginning. It's just like with Beyonce, with Blue Ivy, when she did Blue on the newest Beyonce album. She's got a sample of her daughter, and she has a sample of her son.
How
Angelo.
old is her son now? How old is he?
He was born in 2012, 2013. So
Okay.
a couple
I think
of
he's
years
3.
old.
isn't
Yeah.
So he's 3.
Yeah.
She didn't really... I mean, she talked about her son on the... I don't know whether you saw the Graham Norton Adele special, which, again, if we're talking records, apparently over 4.5 million people watched on Friday night, I think it was on. She didn't really talk much about her, in fact, anything about her partner.
Well, he's notoriously private because he's not in the business.
He's not?
No, he has. I can't remember exactly what he does, but I think it's like graphic designer or something. He's absolutely nothing to do with anything, and I just think he wants just to be out of the limelight. And she even said, everyone says that she was a recluse and she completely went in on herself in the last few years, but she was like, well, I was going out every day to the supermarket and to the park with my son. It's just that no one was looking for me because I wasn't making any music.
That's great. I mean, I found it quite hard to believe when she was saying, "Oh yeah, I'll go out to the supermarket all the time," and I don't. And she comes across as so down to earth and natural, which is lovely. And I was thinking, that must be quite hard to achieve at that level of phenomenal success. But maybe
It's in the makeup.
Yeah.
Well, you would not recognise her, though, would you, without the makeup
without
job?
the makeup and the bright clothing, maybe
Yeah.
just wandering around wherever she lived. Presumably, she still lives near Tottenham, wherever it was she grew up.
Yeah, you wouldn't be looking for Adele
No,
dressed
she
up.
probably doesn't live there anymore, does she?
I don't know. She's written a song about the River Lee on here.
Yeah. Now,
Which
what do we think of the River Lee song? River Lee, produced by Danger Mouse.
Yeah, I was expecting something a little more, but I can imagine that for the American market, they'll be like, we've got to go and check out this River Lee.
This
What-
River Lee, we
what-
must go. Just
What
like
made-
Damon, she's writing about London. It's great.
Let's get off at Tottenham and go and check it out. I have a feeling they might be a bit disappointed, but it's going to become iconic, the River Lee.
I'd be
The
very
River
interested to
Lee.
know the amount of Google hits for River Lee after this came out.
Actually, when you get near Whipps Cross, the River Lee is near Epping Forest, and it's actually quite beautiful.
There you go.
I'll just let you know.
But
that.
That's a
interestingly,
tourism boost right there.
Interestingly, that's funny because that obviously famously Damon Albarn wrote about Hollow Ponds, didn't he? Which is just round the corner from the River Lee, and as you say, Terry, near Whipps Cross. So
It's in their blood,
you know
as
what?
I believe she said.
Walthamstow, they call it Awesomstow.
I've got to tell you, we're all Essex people.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
For me, listening to it, I thought she was, until I read this, I listened to the album without reading any of the song titles, without reading anything about it. I just listened to the album before I then went and investigated it more. And I thought the song was called, because it's Blame It on the River Lee, isn't it? The chorus is Blame It on the River Lee, the River. And I thought she was saying Blame It on the re-release.
Exactly.
I thought she was talking about some sort of format wars that were going on with her back catalogue. But obviously that's just my one-track mind.
So industry.
So industry. So what other high points are there for you, Lucy, on this album? You're holding it out. Perhaps it's time for you to show off. I know when Hannah was here last time, she got to open the package. I think Lucy is going to show us her
Is that all right?
opening
Do it.
opening the shrink wrap. Here she goes. So she's using.
Okay, well, I'm
Talk
gonna,
us through it,
I'm
Liz.
going to confess something. This is my first time ever opening a vinyl. I
The
apologise.
youth of today.
Ben is going to look at your technique now.
Everyone is now looking at me.
Yeah.
and,
She's
You
got. Well,
wouldn't
it
be
helps
impressed.
having the.
well, it helps having been in quite a lot of these podcasts.
Yeah. Lucy, should I must point out that quite often produces the podcast in addition to being head of content.
I'm
So
not
she's
doing this
aware.
very well.
She's watched many gentlemen of a certain age massaging 12-inch vinyl.
I'm going to try the heat one.
Okay, here she's going for the heating on the thigh method.
I
It's
have
work-
to say though, we were just talking about the cover.
Yeah.
It's minimalism. She's got perfect makeup. She looks beautiful.
Yes.
You could put it as Ben did earlier, upon your face, and you could talk as if you were Adele. But I was.
How do the listeners know that we are not all doing that?
If that's your thing,
Yeah.
imagine us with Adele faces, but also.
So a little piece of me died just then as I saw Lucy remove the entire shrink wrap from the album, but it's okay. I think
Sorry,
I'm over
did
it
I,
now.
why?
No, it's fine.
Does that mean you can't take it back?
Ouch!
To the record
That's
store.
gotta hurt, Adele.
Yeah, it's very.
Terry's taking the lovely
4 million minus 1.
Ooh. So I've
here we
just
go.
taken the middle part out, and there's a load of pictures of Adele
Oh, she's singing.
in the recording studio.
Oh, brilliant!
Look at her.
Look at her.
Microphone and all.
She's got-
Microphone and all.
Like she
I
means
wonder
it.
what she does for
Well,
a
you know
living.
what? At least that's her at work rather than her, in a splayed on a chaise longue, looking luxurious in a dress. That's good.
True,
She's
true.
doing the
There's
singing.
There's some pictures of her laughing, which
Yeah.
is obviously because her laugh is just one of those.
It's a brilliant thing. Her laugh, actually, I have to say. Oh, Terry's replaced the red Adele sticker. No doubt the record label insisted that there was a sticker with her name on it, even though it's perfectly obvious.
Yeah.
I suspect that the management just wanted a classic illustration of her, and the record label insisted on.
So the actual vinyl is quite simplistic. It's just white in the middle with 25
Right, it
in
looks
red.
like 25 is interesting because the 25 on the sticker, not that I'm splitting hairs here, is looks like a kind of Helvetica type font, and then the 25 on the label is a handwritten in crayon type affair.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
lipstick.
They
it
have
was
not
written
decided on the
by-
25 logo.
Maybe it was written by her son.
You know what Lucy's looking for now?
She's looking.
An evil message in the vinyl
Would
to
you
her,
know what?
to Adele's ex. Like in the old
In all
Satan.
the months that we've been doing these podcasts and removing vinyl from its sleeve, the first person to look for a message in the run-out groove was only a handful of weeks ago, and it
Right.
was a lady guest. You'll be happy to
the
hear. It was
details. I love
it was Cleanthe Savage who looked for a run-out groove in the Brandon Flowers.
Did she find one?
She didn't, unfortunately.
Do they
no.
still do that these days?
Well, I think
Not
independent
really.
albums do. If the cutting engineer is someone who's kind of aware of the heritage of it, yeah, I think so. But yeah, it doesn't happen very often.
But it has the track listing on the both sides of the vinyl,
That's good.
which is good.
That's good. You're saying that as if that's a new
I'm
development.
I'm just saying. It's quite because not all of them
That's
do.
Lucy just putting it out there.
Just
as
putting
the
it
young
out
folks
there.
say.
Look,
Just
this is,
putting
this
it out there.
I'm new to vinyl, right?
Okay, and I'm very pleased that Lucy may even be taken at home. Possibly your first. Is that going to be like one of your first
we do
vinyl
have
LPs?
Yes, it will be mine. My other half has vinyl. I just don't.
You do now.
I
So-
do
And
now.
one album.
One.
Can we get a bit more into the songs on this album? Because we can talk about the statistics and how it's actually only 2% of the basically. Let me give you the breakdown of the figures here. 62% digital download. Interesting that because digital downloads are in a downward decline now. Streaming is on the up. Digital downloads on the decline. However, Adele's record label did not make this album available on any streaming services.
No, which was interesting because Hello was when she released Hello, it was on Spotify.
It was absolutely
and then she
right.
didn't release the rest of her album.
Did that affect I have to admit, it didn't really affect the massive success and sales of Hello at all, did it? I mean, it was a phenomenal.
I think people were going to
success.
get it no matter what. I mean, I don't think if someone really wants an album, if you like, oh, I might get it, and it's on. If it's not on Spotify, well, you're like, well, it's not on Spotify. But if someone wants it, they'll get it from wherever they can.
I suppose my point is that I wonder if the album had been available on Spotify, whether the statistic would be so high. 1.18 million digital downloads in the first two days. Whether that would have happened if people were able to stream it, I don't know.
I'm
The
not
remaining
sure it would, though. I think that's a really good point. That not that she needed that to boost her sales, but she's one of those people in a Taylor Swift way that won't go on Spotify. But
Well, clearly, I think her previous catalogue has been on Spotify, hasn't it? I mean, is there now?
And there was actually, I think there was a statement, possibly from Spotify, saying that we hope that she will be in the future. Yeah, I bet you do. I hope that 25 can come and join the other albums. Everyone's going to stream every single day. But yeah, but I think it's quite a good thing, and it's a good technique, I think.
It is. I mean, it certainly works, and it's easy to forget. You mentioning 21 there earlier, Lucy. That what a phenomenon it is and was, but it's quite a long time ago now. I mean, it was.
In terms of music,
she was 21 and she's now 27.
In terms of music, and also in terms of the way that the record industry has changed, and doesn't quite predate Spotify. I mean, Spotify came in 2008, didn't it, roughly?
But for mainstream use,
but certainly mainstream streaming, absolutely, yeah. I mean, that has rocketed in subsequent to that album coming out. So it's a very different market, and yet here she is back again, and it feels as if nothing has changed. Certainly, nothing has changed since the days of NSYNC. 15 years ago.
To maximise profits, and it's quite right.
Absolutely, certainly has worked. Interestingly, of the 38 remaining physical sales, 38% rather of those 1.9 million sales, 98 were CD, 2% vinyl.
Right.
So some people are buying the vinyl, apart from me, which is good news.
It's a good-looking product.
It's a lovely-looking product. So, tell us a bit about Ryan Tedder, please. You
Ryan
don't sound
Tedder?
particularly. I mean, for me, it's my least favourite song, the one that he's written.
Yeah, I don't really see a massive point to him and One Republic. I think when the amazing Timbaland album came out, Shock Value, he did a lot of great collaborations, and then there was Ryan Tedder on there, which is. It's just right in the middle of the road, and I don't want to say that middle of the road's a bad thing, because we've all got our favourite middle of the road artists. Crowded House, in my case. In your case?
In my case, well, where does one start, really? Andy Williams?
Oh, beautiful. That's
Music to
kitsch
watch
middle
girls
of the
by,
road.
come on. But yeah, absolutely. Roger Miller, King of the Road, obviously.
There
Never
you
off
go.
the
List is
turntable.
endless.
The list is endless. But Tedder, I mean, it's a bit. It reminds me of Don Henley. It reminds me of That's Just the Way It Is, if you remember that one. 80s. Tinkling piano, descending.
Are you thinking of Bruce Hornsby?
I am. I do apologise.
Don't get the Henley and the
the
Hornsby.
Henley and the Hornsby.
No, I know what you mean. It's
yeah.
that sort of...
It was Hornsby and his range, wasn't it?
Yeah, the range, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was... it's exactly the same sort of thing, though, isn't it? And I think she... I read somewhere... It's always I read somewhere, isn't it? Like I don't watch telly. That Rick Rubin sent her back to the drawing board, basically saying that she was just trying to get the album finished because she had a baby, she had better things to do. And there's a debate there around, does that squash your creativity? Maybe it does. She just wanted to get it over with and get home. But she went back to the drawing board and came up with this. I'd actually like to hear what she came up with before, because maybe it was something a bit different, and maybe those Damon Albarn collaborations... and she did one with Sia as well, and I don't think you can go wrong with a bit of Sia.
Well, she did do one with Sia, but it's interesting that Sia's writer or co-writer, Samuel Dixon, co-wrote Love in the Dark, which, again, is a little bit of for me, another low point.
Yeah.
And Samuel Dixon, it turns out, has been the bass player in her band certainly for the 21 tour. So
The bassists write the songs.
Well,
Is that how it goes these days?
I was reminded of that scene in Spinal Tap. Our bass player wrote this in the Jazz Odyssey scene. I was thinking, well, we've got Samuel Dixon, but it's a miserable plinky plonky ballad. Another one that's sort of unnecessary.
That is my least favourite.
Is that your least favourite? And that's interesting. You see, borne out by the expert's opinion there. But Lucy, you were also saying that given that perhaps there are other songs that aren't on the album, that there's more songs available that we can't get access to.
Well, a friend of mine, her best friend lives in New York, and he sent her the Adele album, and she messaged me going, Gary's sending me the Adele album from America, and I was thinking, I didn't say it, I just went, oh, cool, but I was thinking, Why is
You were
he
thinking
sending it through
whatevs,
a
weren't you?
She put a picture of it on Facebook and it said plus 2 bonus tracks on it. But you can't seem to get that here. And I don't know what the bonus tracks are. But you said, we were talking about this earlier, you said you think it might be, one of them might be a collaboration with Mark Ronson.
Well, I read that I think that Columbia, which is the US label, that she's not on, XL have obviously licensed it to Columbia in the US. They've got 2 tracks for Target, which presumably is some sort of exclusive thing which guarantees that they get racked priority all around the US if they
Is
give
that like
some.
Tesco?
It's kind of like a Walmart
Yeah.
affair, I imagine. Yeah,
Love it.
But one of them appeared to be a co-write with Mark Ronson, which you think, well, surely the Ronson,
Oh, get that out for Christmas.
he should be. Well, the Ronson should be on the main album, surely.
Surely there would be a
Yeah.
deluxe version though, because you always get the normal and then the deluxe version.
Well,
You would
maybe
think
they're holding it back for the new year. Maybe that will
Maybe.
come. Yeah, there'll be another.
more money.
Yeah, Q1. Yeah, let's hold it back.
They're going to need something in January, aren't they? Right, she's only going to do work every 4 years, so I would definitely
Trying to
I'd
put it
probably
out as long as they can.
Yeah, I'd hold back a couple of corkers for the summer. Get some David Guetta on there. Jobs are good.
So the Graham Norton special. Tell us a bit about that. Did you have a go at that? I have to admit, I forced myself to watch it last night, and it was rather enjoyable.
Was that the one where she impersonated herself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that actually did bring me to a small chortle and indeed a tear, because I just thought it was brilliant.
It was.
I had a little bit of a welling up. for that
Yeah,
too.
she put on a false nose, and how she did, and she was being really rude to the fellow impersonators.
So tell us a little bit. So for those of us the listeners who didn't see this, can you tell us what the shtick was on this show?
Yes, there are a group of Adele impersonators, both male and female, going up to do a few Adele-style songs, quite averagely, quite well. And then she's there with a false nose and a false chin on, going, she's taken her time making his album, that sort of like...
That's why she changed the voice as well, didn't
Yeah,
she? Sort of,
She's Jenny.
Changed it to
Jenny.
Yeah, she changed the name to Jenny, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but how they didn't rumble that it was her, I do not know. But then the minute she got on stage, obviously she started singing, and they were like, "Oh, she's good," and then, "Oh, it's her," and everyone starts singing along, and yeah, it's just one of those moments. I thought it was so well done.
It was
Just
beautifully
a
done.
real
even-
tearjerker.
Yeah, because because she didn't look like her, did
She
it,
did
Lucy?
not look like her at all. Like it was, but if you're not looking for her, you
Yeah.
probably don't think, you probably wouldn't. I think if you knew she was going to be there, you would have gone, yes, that's her.
Yeah.
But it was just the fact that she came out and you just can't mistake her voice, because
Yeah.
there was just a girl in the audio of one of the other Adeles who literally, as soon as she started singing, went, "Oh my God, it's her."
It was amazing, wasn't it? The instant recognition.
And then there was the one next to her going, "No, it's not." And so it is. It was brilliant. And then it was just so sweet at the end. And when they were all crying.
Yeah.
It was the
It was
little
lovely because
I thought it was
what was lovely
so
about it
brilliant.
is you thought, well, are these people, are they in it for the right reasons? Are they just making a fast buck off, the latest megastar, and once someone else comes along, they'll just change their outfit? But clearly they were all massive
Yeah.
fans, weren't they? Which was lovely to see.
I just love when they were talking backstage before she came on, and it was just, and they were just talking, and one of the guys goes, "I think she would like him," the guy that was singing, and she was going, yeah, I think she would. And it was just like, it was just talking about herself. It was so funny. It was really well done.
Yeah, she was very, again with that, she put on the opposite voice to the one that she normally has. She was very convincing on that show. I mean, so natural that it feels that she should kind of do more chat show type stuff.
But she's
Yeah.
notoriously private. This is the thing. She just doesn't really want her life to be out there, because I know, like, when she had 21 out, and then, she's estranged from her father, and her father came in and went to all the newspapers and magazines with all these stories, and she said, I was quite open back then, and I was burned a lot because of it by people who I considered to be friends, and so I think she's just decided just to take herself away.
I think she's really brilliant at doing the promotion rounds. Though. She's one of those people who gives away enough to make it an exclusive, and she'll throw out a quote that everyone is going to use without giving too much away, which I think is real genius. And I don't think you can train people to do that. I think she's just got it as well.
Yeah.
She obviously would have been trained, but yeah, I think she she knows how to do it without having to fall out of a premiere and wear a skimpy dress and all that.
Yeah,
So,
or even get, I mean, just
or
having
even be
recently
seen.
seen the Amy Winehouse documentary and seeing how that kind of unraveled and just how, you know, the pressures, imagine if the pressures on her were like that, imagine what they're like on Adele,
Well,
you know,
yeah.
with her level of success. It must be phenomenal, and yet there she is, capable of just seemingly being the most relaxed, natural person that you've ever seen on camera.
Yeah. But the other thing that I think showed up when she started to sing in that Graham Norton thing was the fact that we don't have many singers these days that can just get up and sing absolutely perfectly with a brilliant
That's
voice.
true.
I mean, you watch X Factor and it's just so poor.
Yeah.
But I think they're all trying to be her, and they're all trained, you know, they've all had all the training in the world and they're pointed in the right direction, but she has got it where all those other people haven't. And I can't really think of another singer that would stand up there and hit the right note every single time and move people to tears and just really, you know, be that talented. And
Yes.
for a seemingly normal person to come out and do that, I mean, it's, you can see.
And there was
that's
no
part of
mention
the
in the.
success.
You're absolutely right, Hannah. That there's the natural way. It was almost a given, like those sort of old-fashioned light entertainment shows where, you know, Mike Yarwood.
Yeah.
For those of us, well, no one remembers that apart from me, but Terry remembers. You know, and this is me. And he'd go off, he'd do his jokes, and then he'd go just that kind of multi-layered performer, and yet there was no sort of, oh, well, my art, talking about, oh, well, I need to bathe my throat in lozenges and lemons before I go on, and I need to focus on my... I mean, okay, so there's a little bit of self-indulgence with the lyrics perhaps being overly about her relationships, but aside from that, she doesn't seem to wallow in her own talent at all.
No, making it the knack to making it look so easy. That's real talent, isn't it? She doesn't have to stand there and warble with her eyes closed, particularly, or have a massive staging. She just is Adele, and I think it's good that we have someone like that, because I can't think of many singers in the UK anyway that can actually just stand up and do that every single time and deliver on
No.
it.
Shaun Ryder, I think?
Of course.
Obviously.
And Bez with the dancing. This is Ollie Moore's apart, obviously.
Yeah, Will Young apart. I think it's tricky. Favourite tracks, and it's a tricky one for you, Hannah, isn't it?
Well,
Come on.
it is, because it is all just one song, basically. But the more I've heard Hello, because it's a grower, and obviously the Lionel connection.
Could you explain the Lionel connection for those of us who,
Yes.
like myself, who are too young to remember?
It's a cover of a great song written by Mr. Lionel Richie, who has a head made purely of plasticine, apart from his hairy tash. No, I'm lying. No, it's called Hello, and people have said, oh yeah, there's an obvious note to Lionel Richie's Hello. It's like, where is that? There isn't. It's just got the same title.
Yeah, I mean, it's Terry who's sitting with us that said it reminded him of the Pink Floyd. Is it Comfortably Numb that starts with the from the
Is there
Wall album?
anybody out there?
So there's another nod there.
Yeah, nod to Pink Floyd and Lionel Richie, both groups with men with heads made of plasticine,
Yes,
possibly.
entirely.
And you, favourite track, which isn't Hello?
I have 3.
Of course you can have as many as you like.
Well, and there's reasons for it. 2 of them when we were young a million years ago.
Right.
Because
Both of which she performed on the Norton thing, right?
She did. And the reason is, this is all going to sound very corny, but I suppose that's what Adele really is that both have the message of looking back at your, you know, how your life used to be, and now, you know, things have happened and it's different to now, and obviously she's now got a family and settled down, and it's different to how she was 10 years ago. So there's those 2, and the other one that I really like is Water Under the Bridge.
Now, I'd have to consult my notes for this one. Water Under the Bridge. Tell us a bit about this one. This is...
I like it. It's
It's a Greg Kirsten number.
Is it a Kirsten?
Yeah.
It is.
I must
Kelly
like
Clarkson
It's the 6th one.
fame.
it. If it's Greg Kirsten, I like it.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. It's really, I think it's, I don't know what I like about it. I just think it's just quite, it's one that's stuck in my head. I've listened to the album several times, and you know, if you for you personally, if you think a song is good, as if you can still repeat it after after you've listened to it. If it's not on the radio being played a million times,
That's
but
right.
you've listened to an album and you can remember it, and it's
The old grey whistle test, I believe. Is that right?
and those 3 songs, apart from Hello, which has obviously been played a million times,
Yeah.
are the 3 that I could, if I could sing, could rattle off right now.
Earworms, you would say.
Yes.
Earworms.
It's funny what you say about the themes in those songs, that if we're talking about being 25, people who are 25 saying how their life has changed so much in the last 10 years. Well, it will have done. You were at school 10 years ago. I mean, how much...
Yeah.
I don't quite buy it. Or,
I think for her, it's more the fact that she now has a family. And like she was drinking before this, she was like quite like down the pub drinking.
Well, even worse than that, she said
out.
she was claiming to have just been going to Brockwell Park with a bottle of cider. So that's
you can
fairly
still
hardcore.
do that with a family. That's all you can do, in fact.
I mean, I don't think it really matters about the age. I don't think it's aimed at you have to be 27 to think about 10 years ago. I think it doesn't matter. It's like it's even if you're in your 30s and you're thinking back to your late teens or whatever. It doesn't really. It's not really an age. I just really like it.
There's a definite wistfulness about it. I just wish there was more wistfulness. The tunes with the wistfulness. I think Kirsten has definitely got some of the tunes. The Danger Mouse one, the Rivoli or the re-release, is great. And then the Epworth. But did Epworth co-write, and he obviously produced, did he co-write the Bond, the Skyfall soundtrack that she did? I think that was... I think I'm right in saying that was Paul Epworth.
I'm not actually sure.
And that's, I have to say, but I think subliminally my disappointment with it is because my expectation was so high after Skyfall, because that was such a brilliant record.
Yeah, much better than the one out now.
Much better than the Sam Smith one. It's very true. No, I'd really tried hard to like it.
So did I.
It's a great film, Spectre.
Yeah, no, love the film, but it's like I realise we're going completely off topic here, but
No, that's our job, Lucy.
But Sam Smith, it's like with that song, you want it to get somewhere, and it never gets there, and it just falls flat at every moment. It could suddenly go. I mean, with Adele's Skyfall, it went, and it just Sam Smith just doesn't do that.
Do you like Sky? Are you fond of Skyfall, Hannah?
I am actually. It's up there with View to a Kill for me. Bond songs go. Maybe even The Living Daylights.
It's your favourite Bond, Roger Moore, by any chance?
How do you know that?
I can just tell. I can tell. By the,
no one's favourite Bond is Roger Moore. Are they? Who's yours? I bet you're a Sean Connery, aren't you?
I'm actually. I just like the Lazenby film. I love the Lazenby, which is on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Partly because the music is so great in that film. And it's got a brilliant Blofeld. It's got Kojak as Blofeld. It's got Telly Savalas, and it's got brilliant. It's got a whole Swiss chalet full of Bond girls who are all being kind of secretly given
finish that sentence.
kind of weapons of biological warfare in a Christmas present disguised as cologne, which is just a brilliant.
That's the greatest
brilliant
thing ever.
plot. It's the greatest plot ever.
Best one-liners ever. They're going down the ski slopes, and one of the guys goes into a snow shredder.
Oh yeah.
And he goes past me and goes, "He had a lot of guts."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's very true. Lazenby's not really the best Bond, but it is. That's my favourite Bond.
Underrated Bond, certainly.
Yeah, definitely underrated Bond.
Should bring him back.
But in terms of music, I think to just briefly return to Adele. It's just Skyfall, and she performed it again, didn't she? To go back to the Norton thing, and it's just a wonderful tune. And there's nothing like that. There's nothing quite as the closest thing, as I say, is the final track, which is again Paul Epworth, which is this sweetest devotion, and I'd urge anyone not who hasn't heard the album to check that out, because I think that's
I feel I need to listen to that one.
it's the last song on the album,
Yeah.
so it's the one if you've got it on in the car that maybe you never get around to, because it's always at the end, so you're always starting up again.
But I can remember it, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, well, that's, for what it's worth, that's mine. So let's moving away from Adele. Hannah, firstly, if you remember the last time you were on here, I like to ask non-musical things that you could recommend to the listeners. Now, it doesn't have to be telly, but I would I'd love to be recommended some great telly by you, partly because I don't get to see enough, and also because you're an expert.
Something of an expert. Not at all.
Something of an expert.
I've got actually a couple of Tuesday night favourites if you watch TV in the old traditional way in front of a television set.
I have been known to.
I would do a double bill. First of all, I'll start with Empire.
Right.
Which, if you haven't seen it, it is
I haven't.
a hip-hop well, it's sort of like Dynasty was. Everyone's very, very, very glamorous.
Yes.
Timbaland does the score for it, so it's
Okay.
good. It sounds a bit like 2009, and it's very good.
Is it set in
Song-wise.
the
No,
2009?
set in the modern day,
Set in the modern
but
day,
the
right,
music's,
okay.
the music's refreshingly. It could be now, it could be
Okay,
then.
okay.
And if you haven't seen it, it really doesn't matter because the characters go through many things every week, but they don't seem to remember the week after, and that doesn't make it any worse.
Sounds like Doctor Who. Sounds like it's just.
Yeah. It doesn't really. What happens to them doesn't have much of an effect. There is a goddess of TV called Cookie.
Is it set in a sort of? So I'm a bit confused. Is it set in a hip hop kind of
Yes.
environment, sort of hip hop?
It's a hip hop
groups, is it?
record label.
Okay, right.
Founded
gotcha.
by Lucius, who
Right.
in the first series, or season as they call it out there,
Yeah.
was dying. And then it turned out, and then of course in a Shakespearean style, he
Yeah.
needed to pass on his empire to one of his 3 sons, and he had to choose which one it would be. The bad boy rapper, the gay one, or the one who can do his accounts for him.
Everyone's got 3 sons like that.
yeah,
haven't they?
Who's
exactly.
got bipolar? The
Yeah,
account one's
there
got
we are, you
bipolar.
see.
Don't forget that.
Okay. Don't spoil it by telling us which son inherits the empire.
Okay, but all I can say is
Yeah.
in season 2, he's still alive. And
What, Lucius is still
Yes,
alive?
he is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Last name Lyons, Lucius Lyons.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So he's kind of in old man's pub rock parlance. He's done a Wilco Johnson.
He certainly has, and more. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's a complete revival. So I definitely.
So are the sons all kind of like grumbling and some muttering and wondering about when they're going to inherit their just desserts?
Oh
Meanwhile,
yeah, they're
Dad's
just fighting and
Yeah.
working on difficult second albums, really. But the music is good.
Okay.
There's whenever there's a party at the record label,
Yeah.
they bring in some scantily clad ladies
course they
to
do.
dance on the desk, which I think well, everyone needs that, don't they?
And don't forget they bring in Pitbull usually as well.
Oh yes, of course. Oh yeah, it's had.
It's how we end the podcast every week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Once the mics are off, it's the
Great.
pit bulls come out. Oh yes.
Oh, and there's also been cameos from Courtney Love was there.
Oh, really?
Kelly
There's-
Rowland.
Yeah, Kelly Rowland is the
So Lucy,
evil mum.
you're watching this as
Oh,
well?
yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
brilliant.
yeah.
What channel is this?
E4.
E4. Okay.
E4
All right.
9 o'clock Tuesday. Make that date.
See, I'm not sure whether they let me watch E4 anymore.
Catch up.
Whether I'm
Catch
just
up.
to just say
It's
sorry.
all good.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wardle. It's BBC 4 for you. Otherwise, you need to go to bed.
Can I give you another show that comes?
Please do.
Comes
Can
on
I just briefly interrupt? Because last time you were here, you were recommending Humans.
Yes.
To me.
Did you watch
Which
it?
I've just been watching, and it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, really good. Is there another one in the offing of that?
Yes,
Is
they're
there-
making a second series.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't really know where they can go because
Well, don't.
No,
I've
haven't
got
watched
2
it yet.
more to watch before the end of
All right,
the
well,
season.
spoiler free, the humans sort of attach themselves to a family who helped them, but do they go to another family? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
humans.
Yeah, the
The,
android. That's right. Yeah, yeah. The acting is superb. I mean, really, really good. I think
Yeah.
it could be so kind of Gary Newman cheesy sort of,
I
you know.
am a robot.
Oh, would you like some soap with that? And it's just really well done, really subtle.
They took the lead actors away. Well, you probably know this better than I do. They took
To a
the lead
humans
actors,
farm.
they took the lead actors.
This is Terry.
away
This
that
is
were
Terry
playing-
Boland. They took
that
the
were playing the androids to actually
Yeah.
train in how to behave sort of like the robotic way. Yeah, and then cross it with behaving like humans. It's a fascinating story. You should read it.
But it's also terrifying when Gemma Chan, who plays the lead robot,
Yes.
or synth, as I believe they're
Synth,
called
yeah.
in the show.
Yeah.
She is trapped. There's a human trapped. Her human side is trapped inside her, and when it comes out, it's just one of those
Yes,
moments that
that's-
makes your stomach churn.
It's brilliantly
I'm
done.
trapped in
yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
That was a terrible reenactment, but her
Do it.
face.
Can you just do it again? It's
I'm
quite-
trapped in here. But her face completely changes. And
That's a
everything
bit like
about
Rob
her.
Brydon's Small Man in a Box.
I believe that's what she used for inspiration. No, but it's just it's It's incredible.
So what's your next recommendation?
Right, my next one is Catastrophe, which is hilarious.
Interesting, okay.
Sharon Horgan and Rob Delaney. The premise is that they have a one-night stand and end up having a child. That happens to us all. And in the second series, they only go and follow it up with another child and completely end their life. That happens to us all. But it's I've never seen anything that's so true to life. My life. I don't know if other people's life, but it's
you left the comedy gap there as well, Hannah. No one leapt in there. It was just you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's so everything they go through is absolutely. It's just a horror show, which I think reflects what happens when you have two small children. Absolutely accurately.
The actors, do they write it as well? The two leads that are in it.
Yes, and handily, like Terry and June, they're still called Sharon and Rob. So I think that adds to the realism a little.
Ouch. Yeah, so it's kind of got that sort of Curb Your Enthusiasm type. You're not quite sure whether they're acting out what the real truth is. Interesting.
But week after week, it depresses you and makes you laugh in equal
I love that.
measures. I would say.
That's a good combo.
Yes.
Well, that is on my list because we've had another guest recommended it as well. Possibly, someone in the last couple of weeks recommended it. And I've seen it subsequent listing the listings, and of course as it always happens, it seems to be an episode 3 of 8, and I think I'll have to wait until it comes on whatever repeat it is or box set usually.
Invest. Oh, can I have a third?
Of course you can.
Also, if you're talking about E4, Michaela Cole, who is she's so talented. She did Chewing Gum. Basically, she's a girl who's in her 20s, I think, lives on an estate, but doesn't have any knowledge of the adult world, particularly, so still living like a teenager. And it's just, if you have
where's it set?
children,
Is it set in the?
It's a proper. I think it's a proper South East London.
So it's set in the UK.
Yeah,
okay, right.
Yeah, and she's got a God-fearing boyfriend who won't have sex with her, and everything is about trying to lose her virginity. But she's a little bit older than your average teenager, being in her 20s.
Yeah.
But it's just hilarious, and nothing is off limits. The way they talk, and it is.
What channel is that?
That's E4.
That's E4 as well.
I felt like I've learned a lot about the youth by watching it, and if you have teenage kids, you'll probably be terrified. So it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, well.
Maybe don't watch that, Ben.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Keep an eye on E4, isn't it? Because they had some great sort of niche American dramas like Southland, that cop drama that was absolutely fantastic, and so many other things. And it's like it doesn't get any publicity like Sky does, and so on.
Yeah, but they have so many good things, both homegrown and bought in. Yeah, like Humans was a real collaboration between the UK and the US, and it all works so well for the US because it's so glossy and well acted and with a great cast, but also it debuts over here first, so we get it first. All good on E4.
Did it do well? Do you know whether the Humans kind of took off over in the States?
I don't know actually.
William Hurt was in it, wasn't he?
Yes.
So I suppose that's a concession to the US market.
Yeah, I'm not sure because they were a little bit behind us, but yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see.
Well.
Did you see, out of interest for your having seen a lot of these shows, did you see Cradle to the Grave? And if so, did you have an opinion on it?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, all right.
Did you like it?
I really am enjoying it. Again, I haven't got to the end of it, but I think Peter Kay has a surprisingly good South East London. He does.
You need to explain what that's about. I know.
Well, Cradle to the Grave is based on the Danny Baker autobiographies, of which I believe the third should be imminent this Christmas. With Squeeze doing the music and Peter Kay playing Danny Baker's dad, and all set in 1973.
He got slagged off a lot because he didn't have a good South London accent.
Oh,
I actually thought he was really
unfair.
good. Yeah.
Very, very good.
Who's to say?
So, Lucy, what could you recommend? Because you have enjoyed Catastrophe.
I have, and I've enjoyed
and
Chewing
Empire.
Gum and Empire. I watch a lot of TV.
Okay, good.
So I've got 2 TV programs.
We've got more TVs.
Well, one's just finished, was the SAS program.
Okay.
Did you not see this?
No,
it was,
no.
I watched it, and my colleague, Max, who's actually our producer tonight.
This is a
Shout out to
documentary.
Max.
Hello, Max. He's waving there.
They took it's about how they trained people for the SAS, because it's all very secret and no one knows much about it. And they got ex-SAS guys to train normal everyday guys. So they could be a banker, or they could be one was a dancer, a ballet dancer, one was there was all just normal jobs, and they took them, and there was like about 30 of them, and they took them through, it was a week-long intense course, and there was only 2 by the end of it. And it was out of 30.
Goodness me.
It was really intense, and it was unbelievable.
Do you get to see grown men crying and that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Love a good man crying. So that was really good. And that was also...
It's kind of like The Apprentice, but with real pain and suffering.
That was on Channel 4, wasn't it? Yeah. And the other one that I'm watching is David Attenborough's new one, The Hunt, on Sundays.
Oh.
It is so good.
What's he hunting for?
It's it's all over the world. So it's just looking at sea, sky, and land. It's looking at how prey and predators, like how they hunt each other, how they're hunted, and it's unbelievable. And there was not last Sunday, but the Sunday before, they had the tiger hunting deer. Was it deer? Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting a nod.
I like the way so Lucy's looking over at producer Max now.
Share a lot of
TV sharing. I should point out they're not in a relationship, but they seem to be watching a lot of TV together.
He's my work husband.
Yeah.
But they got to be able to film the tiger in the woods.
Yeah.
The only animal that tigers pay no attention to are elephants. So they got this contraption.
How does that work?
On top of an elephant,
right,
in order to get into the forest to be able to film the tiger attacking the deer. It was amazing.
So there's one of these 10-minute long kind of documentaries about how it was done. Films at the end of each episode. Okay. And so they had the kind of like sellotaping a camera to an elephant's back.
Something like that, yeah. A little bit more than sellotape, gaffer tape.
Yeah, gaffer. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with gaffer tape. You can solve most problems with that.
Good. It's really good. So I would definitely recommend that.
And it's called The Hunt.
The Hunt, yeah.
Wow.
BBC One.
So neither of you are watching The Affair?
I haven't started yet.
Yes.
No,
now we're talking.
I haven't started season 2. It's why I've not brought it up, because I haven't started it, so no one ruin it for me.
Well, I do wonder where the plot's going. It's coming and going all over the place.
So at this point, you're going to have to fill me in on The Affair.
So The Affair is Dominic West and Ruth Wilson.
Yeah.
Who he's got a very foxy wife, but then he goes on holiday to Montauk, or wherever American people go.
Yeah.
And has an affair with a waitress.
Okay.
And something happens. We're not quite sure what at the beginning, if no one's watched it yet.
Right.
They
Okay.
are being,
Spoilers for season 2.
there's a
please.
lot of police questioning, and we're thinking, what's happened?
Yeah.
Who did it? What did they do?
Something has happened. We don't know what it is or who did it.
Yes. And we
Okay.
flip backwards and forwards with the narrative.
Oh, nice one. Steven Soderbergh style.
It's really well done.
You've watched this as well,
I've
Lucy.
watched season 1.
You should
I
get
haven't
out
watched
more.
season 2. I know, I don't have a life.
Get out more.
But we're in season 2 now, and a week will go by where it's really entertaining, but then nothing actually moves on.
Everything else sounded good. I love a comedy. I love everything you've talked
Yeah.
about, but this sounds very up my street.
You would like this.
Sounds good. What channel is this?
Sky Atlantic?
Sky Atlantic.
Oh.
I must issue a warning here.
I was going to say a swear word then. Sky. I haven't got Sky Atlantic.
Illegal download
Contains
website.
quite a lot of frantic sex between
Yes.
various different people.
It's not one to watch with the kids.
Frantics. Well, what is? Unfortunately, the only thing I'm allowed to watch with the kids is either the Bake Off, the Strictly Come Dancing, or the Once Upon a Time, which is. If you've ever seen Once Upon a Time, it is quite the most pointless program ever made. It's made by the makers.
Disney one?
It's made by the people that made Lost, and it's got the same sort of feel of like endless kind of,
It was good
naval.
for the first season, and
yeah.
now it's boring.
The first season was okay. It was like the shtick is there's a place called Storyville, and all the fairy tale characters have been sent there. Storyville was the Superman pre-story, wasn't it? Have been sent there by the evil queen, and they are trapped, but they don't know it.
Is it a
And
documentary?
no,
then?
if only it was a documentary and they were real people. And then they, one by one, we get to hear their backstories, and we really care about how Prince Charming ended up there. and
Snow White.
the kids love it.
Sounds good.
It manages to hover between intense ennui and tedium, and then sudden bursts of inappropriate rumpy-pumpy and violence. So it's perfect for the kids.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So I will make a note of the affair, because that sounds like a
Yeah,
good
it's
night.
good.
Oh, it is.
So, last thoughts on Adele, because we're running out of time, and we need to return to the subject in question, Adele. How many do we think we are going to be having on the tally by the end of the week for the Adele album?
What are we on at the moment? Did we
Well,
say?
I've got the latest sales figure, which
2.3.
is that the US?
Well, that was
alone?
that was 3. That was in 3 days all over the world. It was 2.3. I think it might have been US.
Okay, because the UK are being slightly cagey about it, and they've said that they reckon they've done about 700,000 so far in the UK.
300,000 those on the first day, interestingly.
Yes, that's right, for the UK, right? So 700,000.
I don't think it's going to beat 21.
What was 21 in the first week? Did it sell?
I think it's beaten 21 in the first week, but whether
Oh,
it'll
really?
beat 21
I
in the
meant
long,
over.
in the long
I
haul.
didn't mean within
Yeah.
the week. I meant
Yeah, I
over the long
suspect
haul.
you're right, Lucy. I think that it's all about the initial campaign. Although you never know, they might sort of, as Hannah said, they might produce the Mark Ronson guns.
Yeah, she might do a scandal. Everyone loves a scandal, don't they?
Might do a scandal.
Yeah,
might do a
notoriously
scandal.
private, but then what if something had been going on behind closed doors? I'm not saying it has, but you could bring
What
out
do you think
those
it's gonna
very
be?
big things. Well,
Okay, well, we have been talking about the phenomenon that is Adele and her album 25. I think it will hit the 3 million week one.
that's some big figures.
Worldwide, that's big though. That's big. It's too. It's just if it's going to be
I-
2.4 in the US.
Worldwide, I think 2.6, 2.7.
It's going to be close to 5.
You think
got-
more?
But this might be one of those albums that will get close to 5 and then up to 10, and all of a sudden dies out.
Ooh.
So we're thinking.
I'm kind of with William. I mean, I don't want to predict ignominy on it, but I think that it'll reach a peak, but it won't continue to sell to seemingly everyone in the world twice as 21
Is
did.
Hello a great single? I
It's
doubt it.
okay.
It's okay.
It's not rolling in the
But
deep.
it's the marketing tool by having that little spot on television
Yeah.
after so many years. All good.
Mm.
Now where's the second single?
It's already come out when we were young.
I think that's just Hello Again, though. It's
Exactly.
not.
Yeah.
They're all
If I
album
say
tracks
where's
to
the
me.
second single,
Yeah.
I mean
There's no
where is
obvious.
the second
Yeah.
surprise single where people go like, wow, that's different?
Yeah.
It would be nice if there was an obvious song that we were all saying.
That should have been the
That's
single.
the one.
yeah.
That's the one. That's
Yeah.
the crossover one.
Maybe there's a great Mark Ronson song.
Maybe there is.
Maybe that's going to be
Yeah.
single number 3.
Yeah,
And then
possibly.
the deluxe version comes out.
Yeah, could be it. I think. I mean, again. Not that I'm putting all my money on it, but I think "Sweetest Devotion" could be. I'd happily listen to that on the radio more than any of the other songs. But
I would quite like to listen to the songs that she made with Damon.
Damon Albarn,
Yeah.
yeah.
Brought out one of the best albums of the year, Magic Whip. So
I know. Sorry, we've got to finish. But do you think the reason that the songs were not allowed was because she was interrupting in her Brit speech because Blur had to come on stage?
I think they're all a bit bigger than that. I just.
Just throwing the spanner in the works there.
I think
Simon Wheeler.
there's a whole album in a parallel universe that's really exciting. We've
But I
just
also
gotta wait
think-
to hear it.
How many co-writes has Damon done with other artists? I think I give you the answer: none. So I just think he's not. There are some people who are very, very in tune with doing co-writes, and others who maybe would prefer to work alone. Anyway, guys, it's been such fun, and we should do this again, but hopefully not on the next Adele album because that'll be another
That'll be
5 years, but
years.
we'll do it sooner. But Hannah, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to debate.
And Lucy, you're coming in again next week, probably.
I will be in next week producing.
But in front of the microphone, very good. Come in again for that too.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Hannah Verdier and Lucy Harvie Austin.
Contact us via email at podcast@tunetribe.com and follow us on Twitter @TuneTribe for exclusive competitions and updates.